Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
For me, I had it on autoplay, like in the back of my head. Am I going to drink tonight? How much am I going to drink tonight? What are my plans for tomorrow? Am I going to drink tonight that's going to impact my plans for tomorrow? Should I not drink tonight because I have plans early in the morning? That's exhausting. Like I'm exhausted just saying that back to you, right?
hmm
That dialogue is where we want to catch you.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Love cozy mysteries? Meet Nora Bardin, a lifelong puzzle solver turned author who crafts fast-paced, feel-good whodunits. Her stories are packed with charm, suspense, and satisfying twists. Whether you're fireside or on your lunch break, escape into a world where justice always wins. Discover Nora Bardin's books now on Amazon. Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Marta, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. I was recently on your podcast, which I can't wait to hear more about. But first, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name's Ellen Frazier. I am the owner of Frazier Lending Group and the founder of Booze Free Babes. And at Frazier Lending Group, every mortgage that we close helps fund safe, sober spaces for women to heal, connect, and thrive.
Amazing. I'm so excited to hear about the journey in creating this community, your own personal journey. So tell me more about, going from having your business and then deciding I want to create this community and support women in this capacity. How did that all come about?
So I think, like many of us during the pandemic, we might have leaned into some habits that were not super supportive.
Mhm.
And that was definitely my story. I had, first of all, being a mortgage broker, interest rates were like 2%, right? So we were really busy. But at the same time, we thought that the world was going to end and we were all going to die. So it created a high stress environment that allowed me to lean into unhealthy behaviors like drinking excessively. I feel like my drinking just kind of upticked during that time frame because of the stress, right? I remember at one point everybody was working from home and our network was overloaded. And so we had to either upload our docs at 5 a.m. or at midnight. So that work schedule interrupting our normal flow, it just interrupted a lot of life, right?
Yeah.
Working from home, trying to navigate both, parents working from home, kids, all the things. And so that just really led to, okay, well, maybe we'll have an after dinner cocktail. Then that might be, you know what? We've got a light afternoon. Maybe we have drinks earlier in the afternoon and sit by the pool. Or maybe that turns into, mimosas. I don't know, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. That behavior just seemed to take over. And I knew once we came out of the pandemic a little bit that I really had a decision to make. I had gained um, really, I'd gained probably about 50 pounds during the pandemic. I'm down 100 pounds
Wow.
since then. I've had a 100-pound weight loss, and that was a huge motivator to eliminating alcohol from my diet too.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, the pandemic really did a number on us in many different ways, right? And in finding ways to cope with it. And everybody's different. So, what was the point? Was there like a turning point where you were like, this is really a problem and I need to do something about it?
Feel like when the shift in the market, right? We saw a little bit of a shift in the market. The interest rates started to go up. I finally got that pause that a lot of people got to experience during COVID.
Mhm.
And so getting that pause was really important for me because it was the first moment that I had to really look inward,
Mhm.
right? Interest rates had jumped up. My phone stopped ringing as much. And I was like, wow, I can take a breath.
Yeah.
In taking that breath, I was like, wow, okay, what am I really doing here and what's most supportive? I had started a journey with subconscious integrative therapy and that in 2021, and that was really helpful in helping me identify the areas that I needed to shift my perspective and shift my thinking.
Mhm.
And then also finding what wasn't serving me and recognizing that and then wanting to make a change, wanting to make a shift. And what started out as a weight loss journey, honestly, I was like, I've gained all this weight. I just want to lose weight. What happened next is that in order for me to lose that weight, I had the ESG procedure and I needed to commit to 1 year being alcohol free. And to be honest with you, all of 2022, I had prepared myself for making that commitment. I had to go, like, can I even go one weekend? Can I go a whole week? Can I go a whole month? And then when I proved that to myself, I finally was like, okay, now we're ready to have weight loss surgery. And then after I experienced the first year eliminating alcohol from my diet, I loved it so much, I just kept it going. So
Mm,
much shifted during that year.
that is amazing. It's wonderful to see how one thing leads to the other, and then you experience the shifts, and really back to what you're saying, you really prove to yourself that you can do it. And we have at times such little belief in ourselves, right? It's like I can't possibly go through this, but well, congratulations on your progress and your health journey. Now I want to hear about the next shift, which is I want to help women that may be in a similar situation get out of it. So, what was this all about?
I think that we can all relate that when we're in a place that maybe is dark, not fun, just a place where we're like, okay, I really am not feeling like my best self.
Hmm.
And so, what was important to me when I first started my sober journey was one, to find other people that were
Yeah,
interested in maybe grabbing coffee, lunch, doing yoga. And
yeah.
so I created a small little Facebook community thinking I'd just find a couple of friends.
Mm,
And we'll talk about how that exploded in just a minute. But I think that, in early sobriety, I really felt a little lost.
mm,
And I really just needed some guidance. So I feel like what I built was what I needed, if that makes sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so to help other women, okay, if I'm feeling this, maybe other women are feeling it too.
yeah.
And so I started the Facebook group and I just started talking to it. And then people started listening, and then people started joining, and then people started sharing their stories. And so then I feel like that vulnerability that we allowed ourselves to have, that we gave ourselves the permission slip to have in the early development of that Facebook group, was instrumental in its growth. Because when you can show up vulnerably like that and people can resonate to that story, then I feel like we really started to create something beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started with a community and support that you needed yourself. And then tell me about the transition into actually mentoring this women and building something even greater than that. What was that process of you even admitting to yourself, hey, I can help women now. It's not just us kind of supporting each other here. I can actually coach them through that. And what was that process for you as well, in terms of like maybe imposter syndrome of realizing I needed to step up to the plate?
I'll tell you exactly when that happened. So, Booze Free Babes became a global sensation overnight in dry January of 2024.
Mm,
We blew up and it blew my mind,
mm,
honestly. So, overnight, we were in multiple continents, several countries,
wow.
and I knew in that moment I had a choice to make.
Mm,
I can look at this as, "Huh, that's a fluke. Huh, or I could look at it at what it truly is. And this is an opportunity for me to step into the version of myself that it's going to require to take the booze free babes to the next level.
mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel like that work really started to begin.
Mm,
And that's when I started the recovery coaching program too.
okay.
I completed recovery coaching in January of 20, like, wait a minute. No, I did that in 2025. Whoops. I signed up for recovery coaching. That's what it was. So I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that I put myself through
Yeah.
that program so that way I had the tools to be able to give back to the community in which we serve.
That is amazing. Okay, so tell us how you support women then. There is the Facebook group. How many members are in the group all over the world?
Right now, we have about 600 members in the private Facebook group.
Okay.
Our email list is probably about 10,000.
Wow.
The how you can reach us is that we're on Facebook. We have a private Facebook group on Instagram, so you do have to be a member to join that.
Okay.
And we're available on Instagram. You can follow Booze Free Babes, CHS for Charleston, which is where we're based, or Booze Free Babes, the podcast. And then you can reach us online too at boozefreebabes.co.
Okay. Tell us more about the program then. What can women expect, and who is the ideal person to go through something like this? What is their journey looking like right now that they could benefit from your support?
Here's the thing. I feel like if you are having an internal dialogue about your alcohol consumption, right? Like if you have ever had that thought in the back of your head of, maybe I shouldn't have had that third glass of wine, or maybe, you know, you blacked out or something like that. Maybe you're like, okay, I don't know if I can drink at this networking event because I don't want to drink tonight because I have health goals, or I want to work out early in the morning. Those conversations, that internal dialogue is exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Think of that. For me, I had it on autoplay, like in the back of my head. Am I going to drink tonight? How much am I going to drink tonight? What are my plans for tomorrow? Am I going to drink tonight that's going to impact my plans for tomorrow? Should I not drink tonight because I have plans early in the morning? That's exhausting. Like I'm exhausted just saying that back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That dialogue is where we want to catch you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're having that internal dialogue, then you're really you've already taken the first step. You're becoming aware of the fact that you're even having the conversation within your head.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an option at that point to either ignore it and to continue the behavior, which is totally fine. You may not be ready yet, or you can dive into that a little bit deeper. And in my personal experience is when I eliminated the substance, the conversation stopped instantly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's no more need to negotiate or entertain when we've eliminated the substance.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my own personal story. Not everybody may have that same effect or perspective, but for me, it was like, okay, I'm having this internal dialogue. It's not fun anymore. I wasn't having fun anymore. I actually was, 2 drinks and I've got a hangover, and my hangovers would last like 2 days. So if I drink, 2 to 3 times a week, I'm out of commission for almost the entire week. Like, how is that sustainable? Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the place that it had gotten to for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's who the Booze Free Babes is for, right? Any woman that's having that kind of internal dialogue. And then what we do, one, we have a community of support. 2, we're working on a directory of holistic approaches. We partner with different practitioners. We try to highlight different healing modalities, not only in the group, but also on the podcast.
Nice.
So we want to expose people to a multi-pathway approach to recovery.
I love that. And I do want to talk about the podcast, but as you were talking, it made me think of something that I think is beneficial, and just out of curiosity, because I know a lot of what involves alcohol is just social drinking, right? You go out, everybody else is drinking, you order something. How did you handle, and was that an issue, like peer pressure or feeling like, I have to because everybody else is doing it? How do you guide your clients through that? Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
No is a perfectly acceptable answer, right? If we're at a party and somebody offers you a beverage, no is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's nobody's business.
Right.
What I did in early sobriety is I would always have a drink in my hand, and I would usually have something festive, right? Like something fun. So around the holidays, for example, you might have a fun little mocktail, but you have something fun and festive in your hand. If you have something in your hand, people are not going to ask you if you want a drink. You already have one in your hand. So the easiest way that I've found to navigate those type of social settings, especially early in our sobriety, is to just always have something in our hand to drink. And that really helps. And then the other thing, no is an acceptable answer, right? And then the third thing, it's really nobody's business. If they ask you why you're not drinking, you can feel free to share. For me personally, I don't have an issue telling people that I don't drink. It's one sentence. I don't drink.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Great tips. I love that. So have something in your hand, people. If you're struggling with saying no, because that's the other thing. Some people really struggle with saying, I don't drink or I'm not drinking today. So love those very practical tips. Tell us more about the podcast. What is the focus of that? And remind us of the name and how people can find it.
Okay, absolutely. Booze Free Babes podcast. We're on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and we also do a live video replay on YouTube.
Nice.
And so, Booze Free Babes podcast, the purpose of the podcast, season 1 was all about listening to the Babes community tell their story. So, we interviewed members of our community for season 1. They got to share a little bit about, what motivated them to start this journey, how they came, into the Booze Free Babes orbit, and then what their life looks like now. Season 2 is where I feel like we really hit some momentum. Season 2 is all about healing modalities, speaking with various practitioners. We're interviewing people about subconscious integrative therapy, EMDR. We're interviewing sober influencers. We're also interviewing different authors that have just released their books around sobriety. So I think that there's a lot of value and impact in season 2. So season 2 is rolling out now. So anybody that's listening, I'd love for you to pop on.
That's great that you are giving voice to the stories in the community, so that women have the opportunity to talk about their transformation, and also others have the opportunity to hear different stories, because your story is not the same as somebody else's, and people will resonate with different things. Now, one thing that I really like is that in the beginning you were talking about your business and how you were using alcohol in the beginning because of the pandemic to help with the stress and everything. And how has this transformation impacted your growth and your productivity, and in yielding results? Because obviously we're all business owners here as part of this podcast, and oftentimes people share, the things that impact them, whether it be the stress of motherhood or whatever it is. And this is such an important thing to bring up, that you're bringing up here in this conversation as a reflection of your life, because maybe some people are struggling out there with alcohol as they're building their business and they don't even realize that it's holding them back. Maybe it's something else. So I'd love to hear from you, like the impact when it comes to business building. Obviously, it's created a huge impact because you created a whole different endeavor related to this, but I wanted to hear like specifically so that we invite the reflection in our listeners of, if you're really struggling with your business right now, maybe it's time to look at your habits, right?
I just have to say, I just shared just a moment ago that it would take me 2 days to overcome a hangover, right? So I'm down productivity 1 day for sure. The second day, I'm coming out of the fog. I'm at the office, but I'm probably on a half a pot of coffee, right? So how productive are we when we're showing up feeling jittered because I drank a half a pot of coffee and I'm already, hungover and nervous and anxious and all those things? For me, if you want to talk about up-leveling your life, removing alcohol is like step 1. Like if you can remove that out of your life, you feel better instantly, right? Not just instantly, but like over the next 30 days, the transformation physically, mentally, emotionally, in just 30 days is really significant, right? And I saw just my own personal productivity skyrocket. Okay, so I might have ADHD. Maybe that's why I drank. I don't know. But I have so much more energy now. And I also had to revisit my relationship with caffeine because I'm no longer showing up either hungover, didn't sleep well, all of those things that tribute to our overall health. Like now I sleep like a baby. Like I want to sleep, right? I want to get a good night's sleep. I want to wake up early and feel good. I don't want to wake up late and hungover. So just from a productivity standpoint, I show up earlier and I show up prepared and I show up full of energy and ready to go.
That's a great point about coffee, because we're talking about alcohol, and maybe somebody's listening is like, oh, I don't have those issues, so everything is fine. But here's the invitation to be like, we all have some kind of crutch. I don't care who you are out there. There is something that you revert to. And when you interviewed me on your podcast, I told you that alcohol has not been a common theme in my life, but coffee at times is. Food at times is, social media and my phone at times is. So here's an invitation. If things are not going your way and you're feeling exhausted and stressed out of your mind, what are you doing on a consistent basis that is not helpful? So let's reflect, because there's probably something.
To align with a little bit of your messaging, or at least what I picked up on in our earlier podcast interview, is that, we control our own realities, right? And so if you're having an uncomfortable experience, this is a great opportunity to take a look in the mirror and be like, okay, what can I control in this situation? And for me, that's what I had to do. I feel like I just had to put on my big girl panties and own up to the fact that, I'm controlling a lot of this narrative.
Yeah.
And I also have the control to shift it and change it at any time. And that's what I chose to do.
That's amazing. And it's that self accountability, right? It's so easy to blame people, blame the economy, blame the family. I mean, that's been my experience of being like, I have kids, so I can't do things. I don't have time. And it's like, well, that's not true. I can get organized and I can, allot my time better. Like there's always things that are in our control that we can focus on. So I love how you put that. If you're having an uncomfortable experience, something that it's not going well, it's time to reflect. So thanks for that. So what's next? Now you have this amazing community, the podcast, business is going well, the coaching program. What's next for Booze Free Babes?
I'm really excited. We've got some fun collaborations coming up. And so one thing I wanted to mention is that the Boobs Free Babes community is free. We will always have a free component to our community. Now, we will roll out workshops that some of them will have an expense and some of them might not, but that's where we're collaborating with these other practitioners, right? We want to collaborate with practitioners and bring their healing modalities forward in workshop format. What I recognize, especially among the sober community, is that sometimes these resources or multi-pathways are not readily available to everyone, or maybe they're just not aware because we haven't talked about it enough, right? And so when I went through my recovery coaching training, I was just blown away by all of the resources that are out there outside of a 12-step model. And so I've got history with 12 steps previously in my life. And this time I wanted to try something a little bit differently. So here we are exploring a multi-pathway approach. I'm actually living it, right? I'm exploring a multi-pathway approach, and I want to share that with other people because I think it's important to understand that there's more than one way to approach this, right? And there's more than one way to treat it, but more so, there's more than one way to get connected with community. Because when we are connected and in a thriving community, then we don't really have as much of a desire to drink or go do drugs or do whatever is going to pull us out and away from community. When we have a healthy, thriving community that we can lean into and that can support us, then we too get to thrive, right? So that's what we want to do. One thing that we're working on, two things. One is a compilation book called If She Can. We have several babes submitting their stories in print. So that's going to be really exciting. That's going to be rolling out later this year. And then the second thing that we're doing is our Booze Free Babes directory. And that is not only a directory of female-focused resources, for example, housing, grief counseling, different things like that. We've got a really strong directory already started with those types of supportive modalities. But what I also want to add to it, I call our woo section, and that's going to be where we've got like our energy workers, our healers, and different practitioners that we can list there as well. The main thing is to just, we've got all these resources, and my job has been so much fun because I've been exploring all these different pathways, right? I want to learn more. I want to dig deeper. I want to understand what is special about this pathway, what's special about that pathway. And the pathway that you pick is the one that works for you. I don't know what's going to be your best pick, but let me show you that we've got hundreds of options. You just pick the one that resonates and works for you.
That is amazing, because traditionally, when we think about recovery, we think about the 12-step program, right? And so it's great to know that there are other opportunities, because sometimes, and this goes for any other health or whatever it is that we're trying to do with our lives, at times people will say, this is the way. And then if it doesn't work for you, you think there's something wrong with me. I'm broken. There's no hope. And there's actually multiple ways. And it's amazing that you are assembling all of these resources within the community so that people can see what works for them and realize that we're all unique, right? Our journeys are unique. So I love that you're doing all of that. So before I have you tell us again how to connect with you, I do like to ask all of my guests my $1 million question. Are you ready?
Let's hit it. Let's go.
So Ellen, what is an empowered woman to you?
Man, that is a $1 million
It is.
question. Okay. An empowered woman to me is a woman that is courageously walking a path of self-discovery gradually.
That's good. I love that. And it applies to all of us, right? Gotta know ourselves. Know thyself. I mean, that's why we're here, right? That's the journey of life. Everything that we go through, it's an opportunity for you to really know what you're made of and what you're capable of. So I love
That's right.
that. So tell us
That's
again
right.
how people can connect with you, the podcast, all the things.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. The overviewing website, ellenfrazier.com, it houses everything. ellenfrazier.com. Besides that, you can go to boostfreebabes.co. We're the podcast, Boost Free Babes podcast, available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, also on YouTube, where you can find us on Instagram and our private Facebook group.
Love it. Thank you so much.
boostfreebabes.co.
Yay. We'll have
Thank you.
all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for sharing with us, and thank you for the work that you're doing, transforming women's lives.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be in your orbit and just to see the awesome work that you're doing to empower women too. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.